invest in the Philippines, being a dynamic economic hub and center for technology and innovation. There is no doubt that the Philippine economy has sustained us of the recovery and has been resilient in the face of global challenges, and we and our partners remain confident that the Philippines is well established and positioned for sustained growth, and we anticipate further progress in the months ahead. All of this is made possible thanks to the vision and the leadership of our dear President. With that, let me introduce, or I have this distinct honor to introduce His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos, Jr.
Ambassador Babe Romualdez, for your kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and as the ambassador has pointed out, some of our constant friends, shall we say. I use that word to avoid using the word old friends. So our constant friends and our new friends who are here with us this morning, good morning to you all. It is a pleasure for me to close another successful Philippine Economic Briefing, this time here in San Francisco, home to the biggest, most innovative, and future-ready companies in the world. This marks our 12th international PEB and it's the fourth one in the United States. Since the beginning of this administration in 2022, the Philippine Economic Briefings have been a platform for the economic team to showcase what makes the Philippines one of the best places to do today. By bringing conversations on the country's macroeconomic fundamentals, policy roadmap, and investment opportunities closer to the international business community, we aim to reintroduce the Philippines and jumpstart meaningful, concrete, and mutually beneficial partnerships that will drive growth in the 21st century economy. Equally important, this is a deliberate and proactive way for us to generate feedback from our investor stakeholders. We consider these suggestions from our partners as vital in our efforts to shape our policies and programs to support economic transformation and recovery. Over the past year, we embarked on a journey towards economic transformation grounded on sound macroeconomic fundamentals, a favorable business climate, and agile risk management. More than 1 year on, in an uncertain global environment beset by slower growth, supply chain disruptions, and geopolitical tensions, the Philippines has continued to rise above the tide. In 2022, the Philippines registered its highest full-year GDP growth in nearly 5 decades. Just last week, we announced that the Philippine economy grew strongly by 5.9% in the third quarter of 2023, bringing our growth for the first 3 quarters of the year to 5.5%. This is the fastest growth amongst major economies in Asia, outpacing Vietnam, Indonesia, China, and Malaysia. We are confident that the country will post a full-year economic growth that is close to the 6 to 7% target for 2023. Major international financial institutions and think tanks, including the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, agree. They project that the Philippines will outpace its major regional peers. In fact, Fitch Rating recently affirmed the stable outlook for the Philippines. This is on the back of strong growth, gradual fiscal consolidation, reductions in government debt to GDP ratio, and a comfortable external position supported by sound economic policies and robust economic reforms. Labor market conditions remain strong. We have been seeing consistently low levels of unemployment and improving quality of employment and underemployment that has been lessened and employment that has been generated. inflation is slowly coming down. The October 2023 inflation slowed down to 4.9% from a frighteningly high 6.1% in September. We are committed to arresting inflation and maintaining overall price stability through supply-side interventions and demand-side management measures. This administration has put a favorable business environment at the center of our thrust to promote high-value investments. Commitment to purposeful reforms are also an enduring feature of Philippine economic policy making and planning. With the amendments that we have made to the Public Service Act, the Foreign Investments Act, the Retail Trade Liberalization Act, and the Renewable Energy Act, we expect an influx of highly desirable investments in strategic sectors of the economy. We have also reformed the Philippines' fiscal incentive structure through the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises, or the CREATE Act, to attract both domestic and global firms to invest in strategically important sectors. Investments in rural areas and highly advanced technology and technology-enabled projects and activities are given top priority and consequently greater and longer incentives. Investments in the digital space are also highly prioritized. Incentives are given to projects covering research and development, and those adopting advanced digital production technologies such as, for example, artificial intelligence, additive manufacturing, data analytics, cloud computing, and nanotechnology. These are complemented by responsive refinements in policies that promote private sector participation in key sectors, even as we pursue legislative measures. We rapidly reformed the country's public-private partnership framework to simplify the approval processes, ensure the viability and bankability of PPP projects, to cut the red tape, and pave the way for quality infrastructure development. These reforms support the Philippines' massive infrastructure drive. We are prioritizing the implementation of 197 infrastructure flagship projects worth around $155 billion with a sharp focus on upgrading physical and digital connectivity, water, agriculture, health, transport, and energy. In addition, we look forward to the operationalization of the Maharlika Investment Fund, the country's first ever sovereign investment fund. It will serve as an additional source and mode of financing for priority projects of the government, including the infrastructure flagship. These projects offer high rates of return and significant socio-economic impact. Currently, we have identified about 80 potential infrastructure projects that are financeable through that fund, the Maharlika Investment Fund. With a solid reform agenda and unabating growth amid headwinds, the Philippines is ready to take off as a leading investment hub in Asia. A wealth of opportunity awaits you in the Philippines, and we are ready to explore new horizons with your investments in the coming years. Welcome to the Philippines. Thank you, and good morning.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. Mr. President, may we have the honor of keeping you on stage as this San Francisco crowd is very eager to have a conversation with the President. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, another warm round of applause for the President of the Philippines. And this conversation, please have your seats. And this conversation is going to be led by none other than the ambassador of the U.S. ASEAN Business, the president of the U.S. ASEAN Business Council, Ambassador Ted Osius. May we call you back on stage, sir? And now we will have a conversation with the president.
Mr. President, it is a great honor. Thank you for coming back to the United States. I guess, the past 14 months, you've gone to the UN General Assembly. You had your official visit to Washington. You're back here for the APEC summit. And, Mr. President, you were incredibly kind and welcoming and hospitable to our business delegation last summer. Thank you so much. So it really is, it's an honor to be with you again, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. One of our constant friends in the Philippines.
Thank you, sir. My first tour was in the Philippines in 1989. I have loved your country ever since. I think I speak on behalf of all of us when I say the United States welcomes the strengthened alliance that you've created with the United States, and the private sector is very eager to follow up on the comments that you've made about how to unlock the economic potential of the Philippines and how best to create partnerships in the Philippines. So with your permission, I'll jump right into a few questions. Your remarks were very inspiring. You spoke about bringing down inflation. You spoke about your country's macroeconomic performance. But there are uncertainties in the global economy. So given those uncertainties, what measures do you think are the most important that are in place so that the Philippine economy remains resilient?
Well, I think the most important thing to immediately realize is that we have to transform the economy. And it is not so much the recovery. And I think probably others have heard me say this before, but I don't view what we are trying to do as recovering. Recovering to what? Because I do not think that the aspiration is to return to 2019, 2020. And the aspiration is to transform the economy so that we are well positioned to take advantage of new technologies, and also to be able to face the challenges such as climate change, which unfortunately the Philippines is very vulnerable to. So these are the new issues that we must face. And then there are the shall we say, more expected issues that come about with the digital era coming into our workplaces, into our homes, into basically everything we do. And that presents great opportunities, in my view. The digital space is still very much open. And I think there are very grand opportunities for the Philippines in that regard. To begin with, the Philippines, we have to get to a point where we are able to say that we are well connected in the sense that the large majority of the population has access to the internet, and that our systems are structured to make that access to the internet something of value, in that we will be able to do, ordinary people no longer have to trek all the way to these regional offices that are very far away, take a good deal of time, and go through the process of getting permits and such, and do it all online. And even payments in the banking world. The banking world has led the way in this regard. The private sector has led the way, but the government still has to play a very important part in especially terms and things like cybersecurity. So these are the areas that we see. But the nuts and bolts of the economy still come down to infrastructure, the infrastructure development. And when we talk about infrastructure now, it's no longer just physical infrastructure, it includes digital infrastructure. And that is where we have really put a great deal of emphasis on. And it is the other side of it, another sector that's a very great, that needs a good deal of focus is energy. Water supply. And the overall issue really still here, all of those sectors that I spoke about just now, any discussion within that sector, of development within that sector, always ends up including climate change. And that seems to be the basis on which we have to act for the future, on which we have to design our systems, and we have to keep climate change in mind. The Philippines has it very much as a top-of-mind issue simply because we have been adjudged to have the dubious distinction of being one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes to the effects of climate change. And so that will inform pretty much everything that we do as we move forward. So those are the fundamental areas that I think that we have to be looking at. And as an answer to that is one of the central principles that we have adopted is very simple, is that we see the government and the private sector very much in partnership. And I cannot see how the government can do this by themselves. I do not see how the private sector can do it by themselves. It has to be a partnership. And the partnership has to extend not only between the private sector and the public sector, but also we call it the whole of government approach, that every resource that we have available must be put to work to try and bring us as quickly as possible to that transformation that I speak about.
Thank you, Mr. President. Those partnerships, thank you. Those partnerships with the private sector are incredibly important, including in the area that you just emphasized, infrastructure, investment in infrastructure. And we've heard a lot today about Build Better More and the importance that your government places in investing in connectivity, digital connectivity, and infrastructure. Can you tell us a little bit about how these investments may improve the lives of ordinary Filipinos?
Well, in our case, when we talk about, we definitely, foreign investment, of course, is a critical part of it. Government, public spending only goes so far. And certainly there is a very clear delineation about what government really has as a responsibility and is designed to do, such as public service. And there is what the private sector is designed to do. We see the complementarities that we are trying to adopt and trying to encourage. So the opening of areas, for example, just when we talk about infrastructure, let me start with digital infrastructure. Just for a place, a school, for example, or a village, to suddenly today, as opposed to yesterday, have connectivity and are able to go on the internet, the immediate improvement in all areas, in terms of the efficiency of the local government, in terms of the currency of the lessons that are being taught to children in school, in terms of the convenience of financial transactions being done over the internet, immediately increases the productivity of a person. And that is really what we are going for, because when we look to successful economies that have had to pick themselves up after war, for example, and COVID was a kind of a war, so we have to pick ourselves up from that. It is productivity, it's an increase in productivity. And that is what we are trying to achieve. Infrastructure, the physical infrastructure, a better, a more efficient transport system, a cheaper transport system, all of this will increase the productivity of every single Filipino worker. And again, that is, I think, at the end of it all, the jobs will come, the investment will come, the growth will come if we if we do all that we can to increase the productivity of every single Filipino.
From Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, throughout the nation. Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, since we're in San Francisco, leaders will meet tomorrow to discuss the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. if I may just ask you about trade. What steps are you considering to diversify the Philippines' trading partners, and are there plans to facilitate international partnerships and collaborations that could benefit local businesses in the Philippines?
Well, there's still many opportunities ever since the travel, for example, and the transport systems were opened up after COVID had sort of subsided. We can see that there's still a great shortfall in terms of that kind of physical connectivity. And that's why ASEAN has taken a very strong position and say that we have to increase our physical connectivity within the region, within ASEAN. If we are to regain in ASEAN, once again the leading role that ASEAN had played previous to COVID, we're very much one of the most vibrant, if not the most vibrant regional economies was in ASEAN. If we are to regain that position, then that connectivity, the supply chains must be improved. So for our part, that's what we are doing, and that brings us now beyond just the pure economic considerations, because now there are political and diplomatic considerations, because these partnerships are now essential. The economy is, well, I know we've heard it many times, but I think today we can absolutely, without fear of contradiction, we can absolutely say that the economy is truly global. And so we must, again, view all that we do in that context. And that's why these kinds of conferences, these kinds of summits, these kinds of groups that have come together are so important. The partnerships that we make, the alliances that we make, both political, diplomatic, economic, are going to be the, shall we say, stabilizer in these very uncertain times.
Thanks to your leadership, Mr. President. And I've been told that I must wrap it up. I want to ask you more questions, but I understand your time is very precious. You have a lot to do while you're here in San Francisco. Maraming salamat, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, the President of the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador Osius. And Mr. President, I am so sorry for the third time. May we request you to remain on stage? You're just so in demand today. We would like to take this opportunity. No more po? Okay, so I'm receiving different instructions. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines. We very much enjoyed the chat. That is the President of the Republic of the Philippines ushering in the economic transformation for sustainability and inclusivity, leading to our agenda for prosperity. And that concludes our Philippine